Hello, everybody. I am an ophthalmology resident, and welcome to our podcast, a space where we sit down with brilliant minds who shaped medicine. Today, we are in Dubai, and I'm honored to welcome one of the most influential ophthalmologists in the world. When we talk about Dua's layer, the discovery that changed the way we understand the human cornea, one name comes immediately to mind is Professor Harminder Dua. With more than 40 years of experience, he continues to inspire the ophthalmology world through his surgical expertise and the way he guides the next generations of eye doctors. Professor Dua, thank you for accepting my invitation despite your busy schedule.
Thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure.
So how are you, Professor Dua? Are you enjoying your time here in Dubai?
Yes, it's been less than a day, but it's great. It's a great city, very clean.
I will give you after the podcast some tips and some activities you can do here in Dubai. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Who is Professor Dua behind the surgeon and behind the researcher? Can we know more about you, Professor Dua?
Yeah, of course. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a grandfather. We had a first grandchild who's now 10 months old. I have lots of friends. I enjoy humor and I love teaching. And I'm also a poet of some kind. I write poetry in English and Hindi in my spare time. But most of my time is taken up in research, which is my hobby. That's where I spend most of my time.
Very nice, very nice. I already saw, Professor Dua, that you moved from India to the UK. How did that transition change you as a person?
It's, I moved from India to the UK to learn a bit more, to be exposed to advanced ophthalmology techniques. And then I settled over there. I spent 4 years in between in the USA, came back to the UK. And as I've said in one of my own quotations, that life is a series of opportunities that present and the choices you make when those opportunities present. So I took my opportunities, and I think for me, I have no regrets. I think it's made me a better person, a better scientist, and opened my eyes to the whole world. I think that's very important. Really broadened my perspective.
Really nice, yeah. And I had also the same experience because I moved from Morocco to Belgium, and I see in the beginning how difficult it is because you need to make your own environment, you need to make your own space, but when you go, you have only one direction.
I think that's important. The teaching that we had in India, the knowledge base was very sound. We got very good teaching, and it's the application of that knowledge, which was a skill I was able to learn in the UK, and that really helped me tremendously, having that background and that foundation of the training in India. That was very useful.
So, Professor Dua, when you return back to your childhood, have you ever thought that you would become the person that you are today?
No, never. In fact, when I was 14 years old, we have to decide whether we take physics, chemistry, and biology to become a doctor, or you do physics, chemistry, mathematics, you can become an engineer.
Yeah.
My father was in the Indian Air Force. I wanted to join the Air Force like him, but he said I should get a university degree first. So I actually went into school taking physics, chemistry, and mathematics to become an engineer. But it turned out that a good friend that I made in school was in the biology class, so I changed to biology and I became a doctor.
But also that helps you in your research project, biology.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
That knowledge was very useful for what I later did in my life, yes.
Yeah. Do you agree with me, Professor Dua, that people often see success but not the hard road behind it?
Yes, I think the journey can be with ups and downs. It is sometimes a rough road. It is the same journey as life, even in research. But in research, I'm always telling, my PhD students, research is 9 times failure and 1 time success. And that 1 time makes it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because nothing works first time. And you're very lucky if that happens. Yeah.
We must try until we have our
Yes.
dreams. Had you ever have some of challenging moments in your life, in your career?
When you move from one country to another, the culture is different, the environment is different, the climate is different. So those challenges one have to overcome. But the language wasn't a problem because English was very well taught and my English was pretty good when I was in India. And the same saw me through into the UK and the USA. So the challenge really came later and more recently, going back 10 years after the discovery of the layer, when there was a lot of diverse opinion and challenges and people questioning and denying. So that was a challenging moment, if I remember. I don't remember any challenging moments before that.
Yeah. Do those challenging moments give you more motivation or more discipline?
I think they give you both. When people challenge you about something, the most important message is, if you know and you believe in yourself and in your results and in your interpretation, then you are on solid ground. People will always challenge and people will always say different things. I put it down in one of my publications that whenever something new is discovered, you get 4 kinds of responses.
Yeah.
One is, it cannot be true.
Yeah.
The other is, it's been described before. Then somebody say, well, I have described it before. But fortunately, the 4th category is the one where most people say, let's check it out and see.
Yeah.
If it is real, it will stand the test of time, and the further interrogation people will put to that finding, or it will be discredited if it's not based on facts. So those are challenging times, but one has to believe in oneself. And I think that sees you through those times.
And it connects perfectly to the next part of our talk, because your own motivation led to one of the most important discoveries in corneal science. How did it all begin?
So it's interesting, like everybody else, I was doing the deep anterior lamellar keratoplasty operation, and everybody at that time was saying it's a Desmet's bearing technique. And we all believed that, and we were doing the operation till certain clues started to appear. And those clues were surgical and clinical, and some were also histological. And I got this inkling that, it's not the Desmet's membrane. It doesn't feel like a Desmet's membrane. It's more resilient. You can bounce an instrument off it. And the idea then comes that, look, we are not bearing Desmet's membrane, because Desmet's membrane doesn't look like this. And once that idea came, the hypothesis that this is not Desmet's membrane, then we set out to carry some experiments which were ex vivo in human eyes to show that this layer was there. So basically, in the human eye bank eyes, we injected air like we did in the human eye, created the bubble, and were able to then show that this layer was for real. And I think the eureka moment, if you like, was when we created a nice, what we now know as a type 1 bubble, and I was able to peel off the entire Desmet's membrane from the bubble, and the bubble was still intact. Then I knew there was another layer underneath.
How was your feeling at that moment?
But at that moment, the feeling was, well, this is something absolutely new. This is something that is proving an age-old concept wrong. I mean, it was almost for a decade, people were doing a deep anterior lamellar keratoplasty and saying we are bearing Desmet's membrane. And suddenly, I had proof that this is wrong. So I knew I was onto something different, on something bigger than what we had so far imagined and written about and talked about. So always there is that period of elation. I think that was my one-time success
Yeah.
moment. That wow, I've got something here.
It's really interesting. That changed the world of understanding of corneal science and corneal surgery. And do you remember the reaction of or the impact it had on your colleagues? Because it's difficult to see this huge discovery.
Yeah, it was varied. Like I said before, there were some colleagues said, I'll just quote you, yeah, it's there, but what is its function? Unless you find a function for it, it probably doesn't have any meaning. Others will say that, oh, it's not a layer, it's part of the stroma. But there were also some positive comments. I was in Abu Dhabi when Dr. Saleh came to me and said, I'm not surprised you discovered the layer. I'm surprised that I did not, because I see it under my eyes every time I do the operation, but I didn't stop to think about it. So there were positive comments and there were indifferent comments and there were negative comments. So it's a range of comments as you expect.
What is the impact of your discovery on the way we operate?
So it has, in one sentence, it has made the operation safer. So I have, like I said, when I can't find an appropriate quotation for something, I make my own up. So one of my other quotations is that if we know why we do what we do, we can do it better or find a better way of doing it. So now that we know the type 1 bubble, the type 2 bubble, people used to call it the glassy bubble or the explosive bubbles. Now that we know the different types, we know the layer, we know how to modulate our surgery so that we don't end up with a big complication like a burst of the descemet membrane or a disaster like that. So it has definitely informed our surgery. We have innovated, like PDEC operation, the pre-descemet endothelial keratoplasty has come from the discovery of the layer, and more people are doing it because you can now use young eyes, which we couldn't use before for DMEC above 50. Below 50, we can't use because the descemet is thin, it tears, and it scrolls so tight that you can't unscroll it. So PDEC is an innovation, an impact of the layer. The dark surgery has become very interesting, has become much more predictable. We understand it better. And like I said earlier, all these different kinds of corneal pathologies we're looking at, like acute eye drops, and treatment of acute eye drops. Treatment of descemet membrane detachment has been impacted and influenced by the knowledge of this layer. We understand now why you get intracorneal hypopions, which are more likely to be due to fungal. We have understood a few things already in corneal pathology. The corneal biomechanics influenced by this layer at the back, perhaps its role in the pathogenesis of keratoconus, and like I said earlier about in glaucoma and pressure maintenance. So the spectrum is wide. Just the discovery of that one layer has opened up so many different avenues of thinking and of research.
That's also changed the way we understand the anatomic things of cornea. It makes us wonder. There are still hidden structures in cornea or in human eye?
Well, for example, I can tell you it's not just the surgery. If you look at, I'll be giving the talk tomorrow on human anatomy influencing human pathology of the cornea. And our concepts about corneal pathology, which are for more than 100 years old, like descemet membrane detachment, is most of the times not just descemet membrane, it's a descemet membrane and this layer detached together. It's a completely different concept, which we've published about widely accepted because the treatment differs. Even a simple thing like acute eye drops in keratoconus is due to rupture in the descemet membrane. It's wrong. It's due to the descemet membrane and the pre-descemet layer have to be ruptured to get acute eye drops, otherwise you don't get it. Intracorneal hypopions. 4 or 5 aspects of corneal pathology have changed. And I think the interesting thing that we are currently looking at is about the layer being a continuation of the trabecular meshwork. And its impact on glaucoma and pressure control is going to come out in the work we're doing. We've just got one paper submitted on that, come back for revision. Hopefully it will be published and we'll be able to show that this layer actually plays a role in eye pressure maintenance.
You talk now about corneal eye drops. I already see that Dua's layer may be involved. How do you clarify that for ophthalmology residents or ophthalmologists?
So yes, it's if you look at the elastin content, the elastic fibers in the whole cornea, the maximum concentration is in the predestined layer, the Dua's layer. It is more than even in the desmus membrane.
Yeah.
In the desmus membrane, it is only distributed along the banded layer, which is on the anterior surface.
Yeah.
The predesmus layer has elastin throughout. But in keratoconus, the elastin completely disappears in advanced keratoconus, because those are the eyes we get for transplantation. We can study them. So the complete disappearance of elastin in the predesmus layer in patients with keratoconus, and it also in the desmus membrane, it disappears, suggests that this layer loses its elasticity, becomes more brittle, and therefore perhaps has a role in posterior keratoconus, which is where it starts. And if it is more brittle, it ruptures or tears, and you get this ingress of fluid into the stroma. So that is probably how it plays a role in the pathogenesis of acute eye drops and keratoconus.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you for making things clear for us. It's an anatomical discovery, but it's impact all our practice, our surgery, our operations. So it's really fantastic. So Professor Dua, it's a trending question. I would like to know your opinion about AI. It is a trending topic. How do you see the future of corneal science or corneal surgery in the emergence of AI?
I think AI is here to stay. It's going to help us. I think we will learn a lot. Like everything, it has its pluses and minuses. I'll talk about the pluses first. If you look at corneal infections, right, that's an area where a lot of AI is being employed. You use AI with the slit lamp images, you feed in vivo confocal images, you feed in OCT images, and you feed in the information on which type of organism is causing the infection. After AI has been trained, just by the images, it will tell you a microbiological diagnosis. Most probably, at least it will tell you whether this is fungal or bacterial or viral. So we will be able to get a very quick diagnosis with reasonable certainty. And the same applies for outcome measure. Some people, we do a graft operation, they reject, others don't reject. Some people have a good outcome, others don't. Some people get more scarring with astigmatism, others don't. So what are the factors which is causing these kind of variations in outcomes? AI will be able to predict that and then give us better information for counseling the patient on prognosis or on modifying the operation or the intervention to get the better outcome. So I think it will make a huge change. So it's positive. But the negative side is people are using AI for generating a lot of publications which are incorrect. They are for journal reviewing, for review articles. So a lot of the science will be contaminated by AI-generated manuscripts. And they are finding their way into journals. I've been editor of the British Journal of Ophthalmology for 7 years. From January, I will start as editor of Eye Journal, which is a journal of the Royal College of Ophthalmology of UK. So it's the second best journal in the UK for ophthalmology. And we are already seeing this kind of impact of AI on the literature. So we have to be wary of that, and I'm sure there will always be one side, one step of the other, and the other catching up till we find a way to deal with false stories, false data compared to the correct one.
It's really incredible to see how AI is developing in our field. I know that you are a teacher, professor, doctor, and mentor, surgeon. Which which one do you prefer?
The number one is anything to do with patients.
Yeah.
I think the patients are our greatest teachers. We learn more from them, and we devote our entire life to making the patients' lives better. So I think that's number one. And number two is teaching. I really like to teach, whether it is medical students, residents, PG students like PhD students or MSc students. That's where I spend a lot of my time.
I want to make a little game with you. I will give you one word and you will tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
Okay.
So the first word is keratoconus.
Cornea.
Cornea. And cornea?
Cornea. Well, cornea will be cornea transplantation, keratoplasty.
Do you like cornea transplantation?
I like cornea
field.
transplantation. I like
Family, in one word?
my wife, Rita.
Yeah. And Dua's layer?
Well, I think corneal pathology, impact on corneal pathology is more. Surgery we know, but the pathology is less well known.
And for your research?
For my research, never give up. That's the simplest message.
Why we must never give up in the research?
Because to get to the truth, you have to keep trying and keep struggling. And you may think one thing is right, and you work on that, and it proves it wrong. But the truth is still there that needs to be found. So you start again. If you give up, then your journey is incomplete. I have also written this before. Think of every ending as a start of a new beginning.
Yeah.
So whether that ending is in your favor or against you, whether it is success or failure, find in that ending the motivation and the opportunity of a new beginning. So that's why you never give up. It never ends. You keep going.
How does it mean failure for you, Professor Dua?
When you don't get the answer you thought was absolutely the one, and you find all the evidence, the experiments you've done prove it wrong, and you have to go back to the drawing board and start again. So that, it really in research terms and clinical terms is a failure. But in the day-to-day life, in professional life, when you've done something for a patient and it hasn't worked, and that is a failure for the patient, but also very much for the doctor or the physician or the surgeon treating that patient. And then what do we do again? And do we start again? Do we do a fifth graft? How will you do it different? So those kind of things, which are day-to-day life failures. You see so many patients with complex conditions where the routine things don't work. And as you go older in your career, more and more patients are referred to you that are very complex. And there you see more often than not things not going as you wanted them to. And that, I think, to me, I take it as a failure.
It's really incredible to hear this advice. How do you see the future of ophthalmology in the next 20 years? Do you have a perspective for the future?
Depending on what's going on now, we will see more and more of regenerative interventions coming in. We know about the cell injection therapy for endothelial dystrophies, which from Professor Kinoshita's work in Japan, that will come to the fore. The artificial cornea will come more to the front. We will see particularly refractive corrections being treated more precisely. We've heard about the light adjustable intraocular implants where you can fine tune the refraction. I think those are the areas in which we're talking about the cornea. I'm sure there's a lot more in the retina and beyond, and optic nerve. We're looking at chips for vision for people who've completely lost their nerves or the retina layers. So there's lots of that going on in the future. But equally, we are also going to see more complications from infections because of antimicrobial resistance. That field is not advancing. We're getting more serious infections. We've seen with COVID a huge surge in reactivation of herpetic disease and rejection in corneal grafts, both with the immunization and with the infection. So new challenges will come as we go forward. But I think we will see more in terms of positives rather than negatives.
Do you have any piece of advice for all medical residents, ophthalmology residents, or ophthalmologists in corneal field?
Yeah. So don't lose your curiosity. If you see something that doesn't fit, don't just brush it aside. Stop to think about it, because most progress, most advances come from chance observations.
Yeah.
So every case is important. And like I've said maybe several times before, never give up.
Never give up, never give up. You talked about curiosity. It's very important to be curious, to search, to do research. With that, I want to thank you for this enriching talk, and I hope that you will enjoy Dubai weather and the Congress. It was an incredible podcast. Thank you, Professor Dua, for accepting our invitation. For our audience, we want to thank you for watching and see you next time.